Welcome to Neighborful Station, Episode 50, Family Recipes, Saturday, May 16th, 2026. On this bright and sunny Saturday afternoon, you are walking down to the train station to meet Kerri for some puzzle exchange work. The two of you are on your way to visit the Rehab Center, which is just west of town, on the far side of the ridge that encircles Neighborful Station. The day is breezy, and you notice a couple of seagulls passing by on their way to supervise the crew getting the river beach ready for summer. You smell the scent of fresh eucalyptus, and you notice a neighbor's duvet cover hanging out to dry on a clothesline in the sun, with sprigs of eucalyptus clipped to the fabric. As a pack of kids runs past you toward the paths that lead into the Everyone playground, you feel the sun warming the back of your neck, and you take a grateful breath. Kerri trundles up to the train station with a large foldable wagon full of jigsaw puzzle boxes. She calls out, "Hello, you! Did you remember to bring your appetite?" You say, "Yes. You texted me several times about the community meal." Kerri sighs and draws her arms close to her chest, looking up to the sky with a dreamy expression on her face. She tells you, "It's really good food. That's all I'm saying." You assure her, "I am absolutely ready for this." The two of you carry the wagon onto the next tram that pulls up alongside the train station, your fingers brushing over the nubby fabric of the wagon's cargo hold. And soon you and the tram are swaying gently along the south bank of the Ligonier River. The ride takes only a few minutes, and the two of you exit the tram in front of a rambling collection of wood frame buildings, all standing tidy and neat around a central meadow. There are kids standing in the meadow flying kites, with some adults standing nearby, watching them with evident pride. "Hey, Kerri!" A thin younger man in a t-shirt and jean shorts walks up to you both, grinning broadly. Kerri wraps him in a warm embrace, saying, "Oh, Gideon, it's wonderful to see you again. Are you well?" Gideon hugs her back and stands in her arms, his eyes bright. He tells her, "Yes, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking." Turning to you, he says, "I'm Gideon. Happy to meet you. We're about to sit down for supper. Did you bring your appetite?" You roll your eyes playfully at Kerri as you reply, "Yes, I did. That seems to be a popular question today." Gideon takes the handle of the wagon, and the three of you head toward a large red barn sitting on the edge of the meadow. He speaks almost non-stop while you are walking together, telling you, "So yeah, I stole a car share vehicle last summer and took it joyriding while I was, well, under the influence of some things. I crashed the car in the river, and they had to close the river beach for 2 days because of the chemicals from the wreck. Not my best day." Kerri pats Gideon's shoulder and says softly, "You are more than your worst day, friend." Gideon nods vigorously and tells her, "I know." You hold open the door to the barn as Gideon rolls the wagon through, and he continues. So now I'm studying to be a community nurse. I don't have to stay here anymore, technically, but I'm sticking around for a few months to get my feet under me. Ooh, they're serving supper. You're gonna love this. There are more than 100 people in the room, laughing and scooping food on their plates from a buffet line. You pause at the door, taking in the happy sight, and you place both of your hands on your belly as you draw in a settling breath. Gideon runs up and down the line, sees something, and does a little hop with excitement. He runs back to you, telling you both, "They made my Nana's green bean casserole this time. Such a classic." Gideon runs to the head of the buffet line, leaving you both behind as he picks up a plate and some utensils. You and Kerri make your own way over to the line, leaving the wagon at the edge of the room. Kerri tells you the residents take turns preparing the meal, and they gather family recipes from everyone who is staying here. It's one more way to make them feel at home, even when they need to be a little bit away from the world, recovering. You ask her, is this place for crime, or addiction, or both? Kerri ladles some of the casserole on her plate as she replies, both. They're just two different symptoms of people struggling. Some folks come here on their own, and others are asked to come. As you scoop up a couple pieces of warm bread, you say, I notice there aren't any fences or walls. Kerri confirms that's true, and there's a guest house here for family and friends who want to come visit, if the resident is up for that. The guest house is free. Everything here is set up to help folks get back on track in their lives. The two of you sit down at a round table, and you see a familiar face across the way. You squint at them a little bit, and then you exclaim, Jax, I haven't seen you in ages. Jax smiles at you and says, hello, you. Actually, that's on me. I'm due to come back and check in with you, and I've been running a little bit behind. Gideon, having made a social orbit of the room, plops down next to Jax, who says, I'm really glad we're about to get some more community nursing help from my guy here. Gideon ducks his head and says, You're a great mentor, Jax. Thanks for coming today. The table falls silent, everyone pausing to appreciate the beauty of their meals before they begin to eat, and you take a liberating breath. Jax points at you and Kerri with a piece of bread and says, That reminds me, there's a cake picnic happening at my place next weekend. We're expecting a pretty good crowd. Will you join us? You say, yes, for sure. I don't want anyone around here to doubt my appetite. With that, you take your first bite of Nana's green bean casserole. Salty and savory and rich, and you fall back in your chair, grateful for every kind of warmth you feel in this place. It is so good to share this feast with you. Thank you for coming home to our town. Visit us today at neighborfulstation.us, where we invite you to join us as an official town resident.
Hi, this is Karen from New Jersey, and I'm calling to share a story about my neighbor Kendall. My neighbor Kendall lived down the street from us in Pittsburgh and was actually the realtor that got us the home. And so he sort of invited us over to be his neighbors. Part of his vocation of being our realtor was sort of foster homeowner parenting us into our ability to actually live in this house. And anytime we needed an electrician or an HVAC person or some help because the sink was doing something weird, Kendall would be available. He would come over. He would recommend the guy he knew who was trustworthy, who was affordable. And he helped us out in ways like that all the time. But he also had us over for meals and shared life with us and with all the other neighbors. And through him, we got to know the whole neighborhood. His kids were always fostering kittens. His house was always a site of hospitality. He was always blending up some kind of amazing chutney in the blender or cooking something interesting in the back on the grill. I think the story that I want to tell of Kendall is particularly Christmas Day several years ago when we had a particularly terrible cold snap. And our house shared a wall with our next door neighbor. It was a duplex. And our heat and their heat went out at the same time on Christmas Day, and we were out of town. And Kendall came over at 2 p.m. on Christmas Day in order to make sure that our house got warm enough that the pipes didn't freeze. And he managed to get the heater fixed, to patch it up, and to recommend the person who could come the next day to keep the house from freezing. And we were incredibly grateful to Kendall, and he enabled our time in Pittsburgh to be positive and our house to be intact for when we sold it to move several years later. And we are continuing to seek that kind of neighbor greatness in future and doing our best to be Kendalls wherever we are.